So, the moment when you're doing fine, everything's going along okay, and then you get one email, one comment, one kind of off tone, and suddenly your body is ahead of your mind.
Oh my God. Yeah. At, it doesn't happen as often as it used to, but it still happens.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, yeah, I think everyone does that, right? It happens to everyone. This is like, let's just put it out there. No one is exempt from this experience, I think.
no, no. I think that we've all gone through it. And, the good thing is that progressively, as you put in practices and tools and you really start to learn things, you realize, you have that awareness that you're doing it less, right?
Yeah, yeah, and oftentimes, even though we have the guidance, we have the information, we get caught out in the I know better. Why, why am I not doing better, right? Um, Welcome everyone back to Coaching Conversations. I'm Lourdes Slaper, a life coach and mindfulness teacher committed to helping people unlock their potential and cultivate confidence and calm. Today, we're kicking off a 5-part series, Stoic Toolkit for Real Life, Real Emotions, Real Triggers, Real Relationships.
And I'm Maria Savio. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and life coach, and I help people transform their lives fast by combining ancient wisdom with modern psychology. And neither one of us is advocating that you become a robot. Um, this is not about stuffing your feelings.
Yeah, we're not advocating, the stiff upper lip and just, keep calm and carry on. It's really about building a steadiness, um, so that we can get to where we're responding and not reacting, right, Maria?
That's right. That's right. It's about being centered more often. It's not going to happen all the time, but it's about you being centered and feeling more in control. It's about self mastery.
Mm, absolutely. And so, that scenario where we get triggered, everything's fine one moment and then something happens that just kind of triggers you, right? Um, it, if you're having a normal day and handling things, and then you finally, or not finally, but you suddenly feel yourself being triggered, it's important to like bring awareness to that moment, right, Maria?
Right. The thing is, that practicing of that self awareness, where you take the moment to listen to yourself, and you notice when you're no longer centered, where you recognize that you've been triggered by something, and that's the moment where you have the most amount of control, and that's where you can decide what you're going to do. But the most important thing that has to happen is that you have to become aware and recognize for yourself that you're off centered, that you're not fine.
Right. And so it's about like really tuning into the subtle signs of your body reacting. Like what's your what how do you react? Is it a tightness in your jaw? Is it heat in your face? Is it a tightness in your chest? Like know what your body's reaction is so that you can then have that awareness of the, oh, I'm being triggered, right?
Right, right. Because it starts when you feel that nervous system start to kick in, when you feel that rise in your body temperature. But you have to, it's a skill, right? It's something that you have to practice noticing, becoming aware of the shifts that you have that are taking you progressively off that centeredness that you have. And you have to be okay with it. You have to understand that's that's your nervous system reacting to a possible threat. And, it's not life or death, but it is a threat to what you're comfortable with at the time. It is a crossing perhaps of a soft boundary that you like to just, push back a little bit.
Yeah. So in the moment, bringing awareness to the fact that you've been triggered, that's like the first power move, right?
Mhm.
And then like labeling what is triggering you could be the second move. But in all of this, we've all read books and taken courses and whatever to for self-development, right? And so we know advice, but sometimes we're not implementing it. And one of the things that we cover in our book and in our podcasts, if you've been watching, is this idea of the dichotomy of control, right? Control what you can, and don't take things personally. We've all heard that guidance, but sometimes it's challenging to implement it in the moment.
Right. It's difficult to implement it in the moment because you've crossed a line, because when you get triggered, right, there's something before the actual explosion of your emotions. And what you need to understand is that self-awareness is important, because once you have that self-awareness, that's when you can start dictating how you're going to respond. That's when you can implement the dichotomy of control. That's where you center yourself and you say, okay, is this, something that I can control? Is this something that I can't control? And, it's very simplistic. It's really easy advice. We've all heard it. Hey, I can control this and I can't control this. I've heard that a million times. And it's like, you have to practice it. It's like if you want to build muscles and you go to the gym and you only work out that one time, well, you're not going to build muscles from that. It has to be consistent. It has to be where you keep practicing, you keep lifting the weight in order for you to gain that control and that centeredness, where you say, this is out of my control. What can I do now? What do I need to do? But if you don't practice it, there's no way that you're going to do it when you actually need it the most. You do the small practice, the little reps, so that you have that strong muscle. But those little reps come first. So even that slightest trigger that you get, that's when you need to do that little rep and say, well, okay, they didn't take out the garbage. I'm okay. I'm not going to explode, because this is what I can control. This is what I can do, right? And so those little things where they irritate you, and that's why you're saying that, don't, when people say, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine. No, don't say that you're fine. You say, understand, at least to yourself, understand, oh, I'm irritated. Okay, right there, when you're irritated, that's when you need to say, okay, what's in my control, what's not in my control? What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And thanks for calling me out on the garbage.
Well, reality is what we need to always focus on, right?
Hey, things are going to happen. And sometimes there are going to be things in your life that happen that are, you're not going to get a do-over. It's like, all right, that is done. And recognizing that you're not going to be able to change what is already in the past, and accepting that in and of itself is a practice, a valuable practice and skill to adopt. Because like Maria said, anything that you try to do, any skill that you try to acquire, takes practice. It's not a one and done. You know, no one learned how to ride a bike, as far as I know, in one 5 minute session, right?
Right,
or
right.
you know, learn how to drive a car or anything. Even, you know, babies learning how to walk, they stumble, they fall. It takes practice, and the practice is what leads to the mastery. And so thinking that we know better, so we should do better even though we didn't practice, that's a fool's errand, right?
Well, I think that we've mistaken information for true knowledge, because true knowledge is active. It's putting that into practice. So having heard, what I can control and what I can't control, having heard that is great information, but it becomes knowledge when you practice it. And when you start practicing it, even at that smallest, the best time to practice is when you have that little irritation, because that little irritation is that small weight that you start with. And then when you have that email, right? When you get that email that you just want to write back and say, hey, this, or that, or even like I used to have these mental arguments, and sometimes, a lot of times, in front of the mirror. And I should have said this, I should have said that, I should have said this. And then you can't go back to the past and erase everything and start afresh, but you do it in your head. Like if there's any energy that is, I mean, all that energy is just wasted on that I shoulda, coulda, woulda. But if you have been practicing those small reps, when that moment happens, you are centered enough so that you can say what is appropriate. You can pivot. You can understand and listen to what the other person is saying, because those arguments of I shoulda, coulda, woulda are all in that Monday night quarterback, where you've already seen how it plays out. So everything is great in hindsight. We have a chance not to have hindsight in that moment, but what you do is you have a chance in that moment to have a little bit of foresight and understand, okay, I'm centered enough to know what the consequences are. We think really fast. We think so fast that we can say, wait a second, I'm listening to this person, and I can think, well, if I say this, it's going to go this way. And if I say that, it's going to go this way. And so you have that centeredness where you can say the appropriate thing and you don't have that regret. But it all comes from that little practice of those small reps.
Right, because what you practice grows stronger, right? And so if you're used to rehearsing, like Maria said, going over it in your mind, the rumination, the replaying, the escalating argument in your head, defending and explaining, then you're practicing being reactive. And that's what's going to be in your back pocket, this immediate reactive response, right? But if you practice pausing, taking a deep breath and saying, all right, what is in my control here? What is not in my control? How do I want to respond with reason as opposed to reaction? Then that's going to lead you in an entirely different path, but it's also going to build that muscle of responding as opposed to reacting.
Yeah, I love what you just pointed out. It's what is it that you're practicing, right? Are you doing the small reps? Are you constantly practicing that I shoulda, woulda, coulda conversation and reinforcing your lack of control, reinforcing the fact that you are not centered, right? You're reinforcing disempowerment.
Yeah, I really like what you said about the now I can't even remember it. But this idea of what you're reinforcing, and if you reinforce and believe that, oh, I can't be in control. I have a hair trigger, temper, and that's just who I am. Then that's what you're reinforcing, right? That's what's growing stronger. But we can practice something else and allow that to grow stronger. It's some people think it's too simple or that it doesn't work for them, but just because it didn't work after the first practice doesn't mean that it's not going to work eventually when you've put in the reps.
Right. I mean, to bring in another metaphor, it's like when you plant a seed, right? You don't keep opening it up and seeing, and you don't open the hole and go, is it growing? Is it doing anything? Is it doing it? No, you plant the seed and then you keep watering it, and then it will flourish. But you have to keep watering it. You have to make sure that it has the right sun. And noticing when you're irritated is the best time for you to start practicing the dichotomy of control. It's a simple practice. It's easy to implement if you're implementing it when you're irritated, and then when something big happens, you already have the muscle because you've been practicing.
Yeah, implementing it, practicing it when you're not already escalated, when you're not already triggered, in the small moments of life, the small hiccups that we all encounter, day after day. And so by practicing a pause, by practicing an awareness of, okay, I've been triggered. What is this about? Labeling it, and then having a measured response, right? Calming yourself down before you react. That's what's going to help you to, when you encounter the bigger things, to stay stable and to stay in your center and not be, that leaf in the wind, just being carried off by whatever has occurred in this moment.
Right. So let's break down the dichotomy of control, or what we can control and what we can't control. And so what we always can control or have it within our power to learn how to control are our thoughts, our attitudes, how we approach things. These are how we say things, how we are with people. These are things within our control.
Right. And so if you have a situation, let's just use taking out the garbage because it came up, right? Someone was supposed to take out the garbage and they did not take out the garbage. You might be annoyed. And so take a piece of paper and write down 2 columns. On one side, it's going to say what I can control. On the other side, it's going to say what I can't control. Up to me, not up to me, right?
Right.
So obviously in the what I can't control is the fact that someone did not take out the garbage. Right. But what I can control is my response, is, how I respond to the situation. I can't control what already happened, but I can control what I allow, how I allow that to affect me. Now, if I'm in escalation mode, I might shoot off a nasty text. I might confront someone. I might, blow my lid and just make it into this whole big hairy mess, which is only going to lead the other person to be reactive as well. But if we can just, go ahead, Maria.
Well, one thing that I really like about acknowledging and knowing what you can control is that when you understand what you can control, it really opens the door for compassion, right? It really opens the door to be kind. And it really opens the door for you to understand and recognize, okay, somebody had a bad day. or, you know, somebody's having home situations, or, you know, somebody got fired, somebody died, you know, we don't know what anybody else is experiencing. But when you practice the dichotomy of control, it also opens the door for you to be a better person, right? Because at that moment, if you practice the dichotomy of control, you know what you can control. And you also understand what you can't control, right? You can't control their response. You can't control their mood. You can't control their life or what they're going through and how they're reacting to their life. But when you understand what you can control, you know that you're not going to change any of these things. You're not going to change their attitude. You're not going to change their mood. You're not going to change their circumstances. But you can be kind.
Yes, absolutely. And also, when you recognize what is yours to control, what is not yours to control, you spend less time worrying about and giving your energy to the things that you can't control. When something happens that is beyond your control and you recognize that, you can kind of just be like, okay, that happened. That's not mine to control, but I'm not going to let this situation make me spiral. I'm not going to I'm not going to be completely dysregulated and out of control because of this situation. And just being able to separate the two can bring in a lot of calmness into your system, because you're no longer chasing down the things that you you can't nail down.
What I really love about what you said is that when you realize that you can't control other things or the circumstances, things outside of your control, but you can control and be centered, what you're also doing by doing that is that you're not contributing more to the chaos. You're not adding more confusion. You're not adding more stress. You're not judging anyone. You're not putting people down, and you're not creating an atmosphere that's antagonistic. And so by staying centered, you're also creating an energy where maybe other people do slow down. Maybe other people stop reacting. Maybe other people take a moment to not say things that are, you know, hurtful or negative, or create more chaos. So it's not only that you're becoming more peaceful and centered, is that you're creating an environment, you're contributing to an environment that adds peace. And that is such a beautiful thing. It's so strong. It's something that we need more now than we've ever needed, because adding kindness, reducing, you know, bullying, and letting people be seen and acknowledge them, and understanding and compassion are all things that we're all capable of, but we're only capable of it when we're centered, right? When we're not. And the beauty is that when you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of everybody else as well.
Yes, the better we take care of ourselves, the more positively we show up in all of our relationships, and that creates positive ripples out into the world that really cannot be foreseen, right? So I think I just want to quickly recap that, you know, acknowledge when you're triggered, practice the dichotomy of control, what's yours, what's not yours, write it down, spend time reflecting on it, and practice, 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 practice to gain mastery, so that that is what is in your back pocket, as opposed to spinning out, escalating, and, you know, just uh, creating chaos and negativity in your environment.
Yeah, beautifully said. And I would just say, listen, when you're irritated, when you're just slightly annoyed, use the practice, because those are the small reps that you need. Also, in in our next episode, thank you for joining us today, but also in our next episode, we're going to talk about why emotions aren't the enemy and how your interpretation is really the spark. So if today's episode, hit close to you and, reach out, we can have a conversation. Reach out to us.
Absolutely. And, no pressure, just clarity. And for more wisdom and resources to architect your own transformation, look for our book, A Path to Resilience, Small Steps to an Unshakable You. It blends mindfulness, the concepts of modern psychology, and Stoicism. It's a year-long companion that imparts daily wisdom based on the values of wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. Available at Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, and other online vendors.
Thanks for being here. We're walking this path right alongside you. Take care of your heart, take care of your mind, and take care of yourself. And if you'd like to support our work, like, subscribe, repost, and share this with someone who needs a reminder that they're stronger than they think they are. And we'll see you next time.